Hey friends, it's Pastor Scott. We're continuing our study of the kingdom of God as expressed in Matthew, and that Jesus, the King, the Son of God, is being portrayed here. So let's dig into Mark chapters 4 and 5. We've got a couple of amazing stories here. And so let's just get right into them because I got a lot of things to share. First of all, Mark chapter 4 starts off with the parable of the four soils. I found that very interesting. So when I lived in Israel and got into the study of Jewish literature, I found that a lot of rabbinic parables talk about four types of sons, four types of students, and it always compared the way that they did things. So, you know, you've got the son that's really obedient, or the son who doesn't listen. You've got the student who really studies Torah, or the one who forgets his books. You know, so all of these things. So always four types is a very common thing in Jewish parables. So Jesus uses four types of soils to talk about four types of heart conditions. You know, so one that's hard because it's like a path. So in fact, in your handout, I want you to look, there's a picture of me that looks like this. This is actually taken, I was hiking in Galilee, and notice that as I'm walking along this path, there are the types of soil around. Here's the hard soil that's been walked on. So the hard soil that you read in the parable, it's been trampled on. You know, people that have been trampled by the world. You got rocky soil over here where there's a lot of things that keep the seed from springing up. You got a lot of weeds over here, and they take out the nutrients. And then you've got good soil. So I want you to, you know, think about that image, and hey, maybe someday we can walk that path together. Wouldn't that be fun? But this is actually the pathway that leads from the Mount of Beatitudes down to the beach where Jesus made breakfast for Peter and the disciples. So just thought I'd throw that in. So as you get that mental picture, as you read the parable of the four soils, just be aware of what's happening in that. Now, then we get to two incredible stories that Mark intentionally brings together: the crossing of the sea and the demoniac. Let's unpack that, because there's some spiritual warfare stuff. There's some big picture things that are going on here. First of all, Matthew 4:35 to 40 is the first time Jesus crosses the sea with the disciples. He tells them, let's go to the other side. Now, the other side referred to the eastern shore of the Sea of Galilee. The Jewish side, the western side, there was the towns of Capernaum and Tiberias and all the places, Magdala, where the Jewish population live. But remember, I talked about how that was the dividing line between two counties. So the other side of the sea was called the Decapolis. That was not the Jewish side. That was mostly populated by Gentiles. You had Decapolis, 10 cities that were there. All of those were Gentile cities. So this was where you had Roman and Greek population that were on that side. So any good Jewish boy knows, if you grow up on the western shore of Galilee, you don't go to the other side. That's where the Gentiles are. And not only are they unclean Gentiles, they also are pagan worshipers. They're worshiping Greek gods, Roman gods. So you just would not be caught dead over there, and so you don't go to that side of the sea. So Jesus says, hey guys, let's go to the other side. That's like saying, hey, let's go spend the weekend in Vegas or something. I don't know, it's kind of weird. So they get in the boat anyway, and they go across, and the sea gets rough, and a storm comes up. Now, I know part of this is to say, well, Jesus calms the storms of our life. Okay, fair enough, but there's more going on. In the mindset of these Jewish fishermen, even today, the Jewish fishing boats are always close to the shoreline. Number one, that's where a lot of the fish are, because there's actually warm springs that are under the Sea of Galilee. That's where the fish hang out. But to go out in the deep water was really scary, because in their mind, it represented chaos. It was the abyss. It goes all the way back to Genesis 1, where the Spirit of God was hovering over the deep, or the Hebrew word tehom. Tehom was this bottomless place of chaos, and it reminded them of Genesis 1, of the chaos that happened before God's creation. Not only that, but they're in the land of the Canaanites. The Canaanite god Yam, that's the same name that they use for sea or lake. But the Canaanite god Yam like the Roman god Neptune is the guy that brings storms and wrecks ships and can just at a moment's notice, get kind of wild and knock sailors and fishermen around. So they're going out there, and there's this sense of, we're now going into the territory that is controlled by the gods of chaos. Gods like Neptune and Yam, but also we're now at the mercy of the storm gods like Baal that bring the thunder and the lightning. So they're really in a very vulnerable place. The waves are coming, the wind is going, the storm is coming in, and Jesus is asleep. he's just relaxing. So they wake him up. And then it's very interesting, in the text it says Jesus speaks to the wind, speaks to the waves, and tells them to be still. He's just brought the chaos of wind and waves into stillness. That's what God did in Genesis 1. God the Father at creation takes the chaos of the waters and brings order and purpose. And that's what Jesus does. And the disciples are amazed. And their response is interesting. Remember, we've been building this story of how John the Baptist, the voice from heaven, even the demons have been saying, "You are the Son of God." But the disciples at the end say, "Who is this?" They don't call him the Son of God. They're like, "Who is this? We can't figure this out." One of the funny, humorous things in Mark's gospel is, of all the gospels, the disciples are really slow. They really take a long time to catch on that this is the Son of God. So the disciples are finally the last ones that catch on to the whole thing. So even after this, they're like, "Who is this? This is wild." So you got this interesting creation thing. Then when they get to the other side, there's the demoniac. So we've already just established Jesus has power over nature. Now he's going to confront a spiritual entity. A demoniac on the other side, from the Gerasenes, modern day Jerash in Jordan. Look it up on a map. You can see it. It's still there today. An incredible Roman amphitheater if you ever get a chance to go there. But it's the Gentile country. Not only that, he's been running around among the tombs. So this guy is impure because he's been where the corpses are. If you've been around dead bodies, you are now as impure as you can get. So he's demon possessed. He's Gentile. He's fully impure from corpses. It doesn't get any worse. This is bad news. But he comes out. Now remember, the disciples have just said, "Who is this?" The demoniac says, "I know who you are. You're Jesus, the Son of God." The disciples are like, "Oh, what?" So the demons know who Jesus is, and they name him. Jesus casts out the demon, and now he's speaking to the demon directly and says, "Who are you?" He says, "We are legion, for we are many." Okay, check this out. The demon uses not just a Hebrew name or an Aramaic name, but he uses a Roman military term. Legion, a legion of Roman troops, was a group of about 5,000 Roman soldiers that specifically had moved into an area that had been conquered by Rome, and they occupied that territory. Wow. So they had actually occupied this person and taken him over. And so they say, "We are legion," a Roman term. Man, this is a dig at the Roman Empire right here. This is actually making the statement in Mark's gospel through Peter that is saying the power behind Rome is Satan himself. Whoa. Okay, this is getting interesting. So Legion says, is it our time? Are you going to destroy us? Instead, they ask, which is really crazy, "Hey, can we go into the herd of pigs?" And Jesus is like, "Yeah, I guess so." Why is a herd of pigs doing here? These are unclean, unkosher animals. Well, they're on that side of the lake because in Greek and Roman terms, the preferred animal for sacrifices was the pig. So that tells us there is likely pagan sacrifice happening in this area. The plot thickens. This is Jesus versus Rome, Jesus versus demons, Jesus versus pagan idolatry. It's all there, even against kosher meat, unkosher meat. So the legion is sent into the pigs, and the pigs charge into the water where they are drowned. Okay, what are Mark's readers thinking when they hear that? Well, Jesus has just cast out demons, 1. He's just attacked and defeated a legion, number 2, demonstrating that he's more powerful. But there's also some callbacks here to the Old Testament. What army drowned? Pharaoh's army was sent into the water where they were drowned. It is demonstrating Jesus to be all of these things that are coming out. It also prefigures the abyss, the lake of fire at the end, where Satan and his minions will be tossed into the lake of fire to be destroyed. So there's a prophetic, apocalyptic piece as well. Oh my goodness, this is a crazy story. At the end of it, the man, now in his right mind, says, "Can I go with you?" And Jesus says, "Nope. Go back to your people and tell them what God has done." And the people see all the stuff with the pigs and are like, get out of here. Jesus leaves. Okay, seems like the end of the story, until in chapter 6, Jesus comes back to the other side. This time when he arrives, it says the crowds recognized him and they brought out their sick, their demon-possessed, so that Jesus could heal them. Apparently, our one demoniac guy is one of the most successful preachers in the entire Bible. He went back and shared what Jesus had done for him, and now the whole community gets changed, my friends. When we share what Jesus has done for us, it changes our neighborhood, it changes our community, it can actually impact our whole world. All right, get going on these passages in your group. That's what we've got for this week. God be with you as you explore these incredible stories.